Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kaylee.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
And if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of We Get to Do This. We have Kaylee and Jacob here, who are we got called the pit crew, the ideal pit crew this morning. So
she said, what did she say? The combination of you two is the best pit crew any runner could ask for. So don't take our word for it. But yeah, don't take our word for it. Listen to this person right here. It was Luana.
Shout out Luana,
because I know she's listening right now.
But
you're the best.
We try to take an integrative approach, and if this is your first time here, I'm pulling like my background in nursing, Chinese medicine, and like holistic health. And Jacob has his like strength training background, and we talk a lot about mindset, and that's what we try to infuse every time into our episodes. So hopefully you can all take something out of this, but it's kind of where we're coming from.
If it's your first time listening, thanks for being here. And if it's your 80th time listening, or actually this is episode 85.
85th.
If it's your 85th time listening, also thanks for being here. Both of those listeners, if possible, should go leave us a review. Maybe a rating. That'd be so sick. We love you, whether you do that or not. But that'd be really helpful. Comments, they all help so much. As we do more and more listener episodes, this one is not one of those, but those also help too. Questions also help for those episodes. So email us at, I don't even know what our email is. What is it?
We get to do this at gmail.com.
That's what we get to do this at gmail.com. No info. Okay. Email us at we get to do this.
With the 2.
With the 2, the number 2, not the letter, at gmail.com. And
you get to do that.
Yeah. We're here for endurance athletes, entrepreneurs, mindset extraordinaires. You can be an entrepreneur whether you are working for yourself or for someone else. And honestly, we're all about creating safe spaces and communities and having people be able to push themselves in unique and cool ways.
To show you that life is actually really good, or can be really good. So, and like that, it just takes that perspective and mindset shift. So,
yeah. And I think also Lauren pointed this out with us too helped us point this out about, one of the cool things about us too is the relatability factor. Before I was full-time run coach, full-time trainer, I worked an 8-to-5 job. I was in marketing. I did not run competitively in college. I've always been recreational. Ran in high school, but I've always been recreational. My first marathon was 4:36. And now I'm 3:10. I've ran over 10 marathons. Slowest marathon was close to 6 hours. I forget what the time was, 5, something like that. So I've done a lot in that realm, and it makes me very relatable. So Kaylee, on the other hand, also has a very cool story. Do you want to fill us in on yours?
Yeah, my first marathon, my goal was to get under 5 hours. So it was 4:58, 4:59, I believe exactly. That was 14 years ago now. And yeah, never the strongest, best runner. And I've just continued to show up every single day and be consistent. And that's kind of going to lead into what we're talking about today too. But just like, I think we're both just big believers in showing up consistently. And sometimes it's going to be really, really hard. And a lot of days it is still really hard for us. And there's not always just that motivation to pull from, but it's setting yourself up for routine and discipline and just like continuing to show up every single day, even when it's hard.
And because of that, literally 10 plus years now for both of us, Kaylee's broken 24 hours in a freaking 100-miler, which is basically like the BQ equivalent to 100-mile races. I have not BQ'd, so she's a little bit faster than me in that sense.
Haven't actually BQ'd yet.
But
so.
I have definitely gotten faster, and both of us have gotten the privilege of working with a lot of fast people that are out there, as well as, like I was saying before, more of that anywhere from back of the pack even to mid-range, anything like that. So it's been a very blessed journey for both of us. We're very lucky in being able to kind of personally experience a lot of, both of those wide different ranges. But I've also never ran a two flat marathon or plan on it. So
But if you have
it
done
gets to a
that,
certain point where maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
if you have done that and you're here, welcome. And we really appreciate and are honored that you're here.
Yeah.
And if you're,
Don't take that as don't be here.
yeah, we try. I mean, the cool thing with the mindset thing is that it applies to everyone. We had Carrie Tollefson on a month or so ago, and one of her like big things was we can all be doing the same workout, but we're all going very different paces and have very different goals, but we're all getting something out of it. So it doesn't matter if your long runs on the weekends are 2 miles right now and that's your long run, or if they're 20 miles. Like we're here to like help with like the perspective shift and like the mindset around that, regardless of how far you're going, what your PRs are, what your records are, if you're training for a 100-miler or a 1 mile, everyone's welcome.
And I think something else that we're very good at too, I think it's important to bring out is that everyone, including ourselves, that we like to associate, spend time with, build community with, and whatnot. This is our hobby: running, fitness, exercise, things like that. We have a lot of other things going on. We have other identities. Sometimes we go through phases in which those hobbies become our only identity. And I think everyone needs to go through that at some point, or will go through that at some point. I'd hope you don't need to. I would actually be better if you didn't, but you probably will go through that at some point. And we work very hard to show why it's not your only identity. So keep that in mind too, because sometimes I feel like I get a little blunt with like saying things like XYZ is not that serious. And I don't mean that in a degrading way. I'm not saying that you trying to break 4 hours in a marathon isn't serious. What I am saying is that 405, 355, you on a continuous improvement journey for whatever reason to become a better mother, friend, partner, whatever it is, that's what's important. So it's not that I don't care about times. It's that I care about the other things more. So I think that's a good disclaimer too.
Yeah, well, I feel like that leads into what we're talking about today with injuries and soreness, and when and how to determine when to keep running, when to pull back a little bit, stop.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that we do talk to are more of the recreational, and as in we're not doing this for money. Most of the people who are listening, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. And running's an interesting sport too, because I feel as though like in basketball, for example, you strain a muscle, strain some, whatever. It seems like when something like that happens, you see a trainer, doctor, what have you, and they say, all right, you're going to take 2 weeks off from games. Right. And they just got told 2 weeks off. Running, for whatever reason, seems to be one of those sports that something happens. It doesn't really happen acutely, typically. Like it's not like you're running, you step off a curb. Normally, you step off a curb and tear an ACL, right? You don't see that as much. Usually it's like, oh, my foot kind of hurts and it's been 4 or 5 days now. I'm going to keep running through it versus like, hey, your post tib is definitely inflamed and you have tendonitis. You should not run for 2 weeks. Like you don't hear that story very often. It's usually a gradual thing and then you try to run through it. And again, so that's what's unique about this sport. That's what's hard. So I think talking about giving a bunch of background and our advice on what the difference between pain and soreness is will be very helpful. And I also just wrote a blog about this. It's on the Grandma's Marathon page. Go check it out. Before we do that, I have a question. Do you remember so if I asked you your first big injury that kept you out of running, do you remember like what it was?
Shin splints.
Okay. When?
High school.
And you had to, tell us about this.
So I did tennis in the fall. I wasn't a cross country runner, but then in the spring I was a long distance track runner. And long distance track in high school was like the 800-mile, 2 mile was considered the distance group. I did all 4 years of high school, and I'd say I think it was every year I would get to the point where it like hurt to walk because I had so much pain in my shins. And at one point I got a stress reaction, meaning it wasn't like a full stress fracture or like the bone was fractured, but like it was the beginning of a fracture. And that then progressed into college and has kind of been a chronic thing for me. But shin splints,
How'd you feel when that knocked you out?
it's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, because I I wasn't really in love with running at that point. It was very much I was doing it for the community and to be with friends and to be outside, and that's where all of my friends were in the spring, and it's, like, demoralizing and, like, horrible, like, when you're used to practicing with your friends and being with them, and now all of a sudden you're stuck on the stationary bike inside, or I would have to, like
Or have to lift weights, God forbid.
yeah, nobody did that at that time. We had, like, the little machines in a little workout room, and the coaches would be like, "Go do, like, a circuit of those," and you, like, look at the picture on, like, the weight, like, machines of, like, how to do the stuff, and just, like, not specific to what I needed at all. Or I'd, like, get sent to, like, the back of the school had, like, a mulch trail, so I'd have to, like, just, like, go walk back on the mulch by myself, and sometimes I'd have friends that would, like, come and walk with me, but, like, yeah, you just, like, get separated, and then you feel like it's never gonna get better, and then you get super anxious because every time you do go run or walk, you just, like, are waiting for it to happen again. And yeah, you get taken out of meets, but I would still go to the meets. You just couldn't like participate. And then I go see like the trainers at school. And at the time, it was like the ice cups where we do like the Dixie cups of like icing. And then in college, they'd send me like the ice bath at the trainers. And yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it's horrible. Losing your community, losing your identity. Again, I think it's what it comes down to. But I also feel as though injuries sometimes are I feel like I've dealt with like so many different injuries at this point, which has made me a better practitioner. And I know that most people aren't trying to become better like practitioners of learning the body. Selfishly, that helps me in those ways. That's my silver lining of what I get when I deal with an injury. But I also feel like I've had two major ones that have really kept me out for prolonged periods. And when you're out for those 3 to 6 months and out being like, maybe you have to take a month off of running. Like both of those, I had to take like a month off. And then it's like a weird 2 to 3 month where you're just really scared the whole time. And like you re-injure things, because fun fact, what's the number one cause of injury? Who knows it?
Re-injury.
There you go. So you re-injure things, and then maybe 3 months later, like these are the two situations I have with me for like my drastic ones. Then now I'm finally like back to running with friends, but you're still missing probably and it takes a while. It took like half a year, I feel like, to get back to it. Yeah. When you're in those moments, it's like, okay, well, now I have to figure out a different identity, which I feel like is good for us. Doesn't feel like it's good for you at the time, but figuring out, what areas of my life have I not been putting focus into, right? Putting focus into that. Running's gonna be there. It's a relationship like anything else, and like it will be there. And we have so many people, so many times, us even like sometimes running is gonna not really provide what you wanted to provide. And those are the moments when you need to go and do the self work and figure out, yeah, where do you go from here and what do you want to do and what are you without it, right? So yeah, I think it's good to kind of, paint the scene a little bit of that and before we talk about pain versus soreness.
Yeah. I mean, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday too, who pulled out of their marathon because of an injury. And I think it's also finding that balance between when you get an injury, like sitting in it and being like, yeah, this sucks. Like, we're not saying just like move on and you shouldn't be letting this like completely take you down. But it's okay to acknowledge like, yeah, this is sad, this hurts. But then also, like Jacob said, then finding like, okay, why does this hurt so much? And what else is there in my life?
Yeah.
So it's both can exist at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And all those reels about runners running while they're limping, although they are kind of funny and entertaining, and I get the point of like my doctor told me not to run, so I'm gonna wrap my leg in bubble wrap and all this stuff, and then it shows them like limping. I laugh. They're funny. I get it. It's funny, but
We have all
be
been
smart.
there and will continue to be there.
Well, hopefully we'll not continue to be there after listening to this. Be smart and normalize too. It's fine to not run. In high school when we were running in high school, you had forced breaks. No one was running 40-mile weeks, 30-mile weeks, 60, 70-mile weeks all year round. That's not normal. That's not normal. Even pro runners are not running their average mileage the entire year per week, right? They have blocks where they're going lower. So if you look at your Strava and it is 40 miles consistently throughout the entire year, think about that. All right. Just something to consider. Okay. I have a blog on Oak Endurance that I am sharing on the screen right now because there's some bullet points and I'm going to refer to, but you can go to oakendurance.com, go to the resources tab, click on blogs, and then you can go to this blog. It's titled What My IT Man Taught Me About Pain versus Soreness. And it's a, dare I say, and toot my own horn, great stinking resource, specifically the list on about, halfway down here when I talk about the difference between pain and soreness when we're running. Okay. So few items that I want you to consider. I'm going to go down this list. Number one, pain/discomfort that lingers for, I say, more than 3 to 5 days max and isn't improving. If that is happening, it's probably not soreness. Soreness, generally speaking, you lifted hard, you did a hard workout, whatever. By that third day, it should definitely go down. Keep that in mind. All right. As we are running, point 2 here, pain of 3 to 5 plus on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being unbearable. I also put a range here because I have learned that, for example, Kaylee's 4 is way different than my 4. Like if I get sick, for example, I'm at like a 10 and she's still ripping maybe 1 or 2. So
You said it, not me.
like I'll be on my deathbed. So just keep that in mind. If probably 3 to 5, I don't love this one very much, but I still use it and just ask people, what's your pain at 1 to 10? Okay. So if it's at like a 3 to 5, okay. Point number 3, kind of again, similar to the first one, if you're running and your pain does not improve during a workout, it's probably something you should start to maybe ask yourself or get worried about. If it does not improve, if you are sore, you should run, bike, whatever, and it should feel a little better. Every time, if I destroy my calves, hamstrings, quads, 2 weeks ago, destroys a harsh term there. 2 weeks ago, was that last week? That was last week.
Last week.
When I accidentally annihilated my quads in squats and was having trouble straightening my legs because of how sore they were. Don't do that very often. I'm not perfect. I do it too from time to time. But every time I ran the next 3 days, during the runs, it got better, throughout the entire run. Right. So that's a good example of soreness. And by the 3rd, 4th day, it was gone. Or maybe it was 5. I don't remember. But every single day got better. Throughout the runs, it got better. So if it's not getting better, even if it's depending on who you talk to, even if it's it's a 4 out of 10 when I start, and it's a 4.5 out of 10 when I end. So it didn't really get worse. Here's the thing. I have pretty much yet to, unless it's something maybe a meniscus situation or, something like that. I've yet to meet someone that is fully truthful with themselves when they say that, first of all. I feel we'll be yeah, it didn't really get any worse, but it actually did. And you're just or, and we'll get into this, you change your gait so prove that. So just again, if it doesn't get better, try to be honest with yourself. If it doesn't get better, it's probably something you should consider going and seeing someone for.
Yeah, if you are changing your gait or compensating in any way, that's grounds to have new other injuries. Probably not something you should keep running through. If you're oh, I'm actually now putting more load on my left side so I can avoid being on my right hip or ankle, please pay attention to that because you don't want to open up the door for more injuries.
And that's not to say you shouldn't change your gait. In certain situations, you maybe should change your gait, but we're not going to get off topic. So symptom-wise, something to consider with this. Now, I'm not a doctor. This is, you can take this or you can leave it, but generally speaking, if your symptoms feel sharp, stabbing, shooting, burning, numb, tingly, anything like that that does not feel like a sore muscle, causes you to change your gait. If there's a locking/giving out feeling, that specifically is probably going to be related to, again, meniscus or ligament potential issues, and you don't want to F with that. So anything like that, anything that doesn't feel like soreness is probably something you should listen to. And then That's something we've talked about a lot too, especially like shin splint things. If it's localized to one area, this next point, or if it's bruised, tread lightly, pretty please. That is when you see stress fractures or bone like issues start to, well, stress fractures are in bones. So start to happen. What are we at for point wise? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Um,
6. Yes.
Sensation wise, with like sharp, fixed stabbing pain like that, that's called chi stagnation in Chinese medicine. And that's what we're trying to avoid, like Jacob said. More of like, are you going to talk about soreness after this?
No,
Like
please.
more of like the dull, achy sensation. That's more of like where that soreness
Mhm.
comes in. And that's typically more, in general, that's more okay. That's on the soreness side. Um,
Tightness, things like that. Tighter.
tightness. Also, a really good way to tell, like, with that, like, stabbing pain too is doing the single leg hop test. If you cannot jump on one leg without pain, it's probably a good sign that this is not just soreness and that there's something bigger going on. And that's something that you can just do at home. Great way to check things out and do a
Yeah,
little body
for
scan.
sure. For sure. Yeah, last major point that I wrote here when I was writing this blog for GMA's Grandma's Marathon Organization, and a very good one is typically soreness is not just unilateral. It's not just on one side. And it's pretty rare. Even like something like shin splints, one side's usually worse. You know, you might have it on both, but pretty much everyone's like, yeah, I have it on both, but I feel it more on this side. So soreness is typically on both sides. And I specifically on the blog, I thought this was cool because I put this like separately, and it is something that I'm gonna tread lightly with what I'm about to say. I find it very interesting. Kaylee and I talk about this a lot. So running is a one-legged activity, and you're putting roughly 3 times your body weight through that one leg every single step you take. And after doing 3D analysis on dozens of runners now, I am here to tell you data that I have collected, and if you go look up research studies, it is very rare that I see someone that it's only 3 times the body weight. It's very rare. It's usually more. So just keep that in mind. And that's for at least a mile plus of your runs, right? So it's a while. So before you consider going and running, a great test for you is the 60-second hop test that Kaylee just said. If you cannot hop on one leg on the side that hurts without feeling that pain, I can almost guarantee you that you shouldn't be running on it. Almost guarantee it. And I don't know why, but that's a test that is it's very like black and white, like very clear. Okay, if I can't hop on one leg for a minute in a controlled setting like this without this like specific spot hurting, it's gonna hurt when you go and run. It's gonna probably be worse too.
Definitely
Uh,
not helping you when you run, even if it doesn't
yeah.
hurt, maybe.
And, you know, similar to that, if you're feeling it when you're doing non-running activities, like walking, I can pretty much guarantee if you can feel it, then you're gonna feel it while running. So, again, they when you're not in it though, like these are both like, yeah, duh. But when you're in it, you're like, I think I'm gonna give it a try. You feel it walking? Yeah. But it might not feel it. I might not feel it running. You can give it a try if you want, but I'm telling
But
you, you
then the
probably won't.
problem with that, so then you do, say you do go out and run, and then you do feel it, then that's like messing with your nervous system and sending you back into like that fight or flight, like stress response, because you're like, it still doesn't feel good. Is it ever gonna feel good? And you start like getting those like racing thoughts of like just being like stuck in your head of like, is this ever gonna get better? Like, am I ever gonna be able to run? So a lot of times, like, it's not even just like physically hurting you to go run, like, it's actually mentally hurting you
Mhm.
too to do that. Whereas, like, maybe if you took a little bit more time off, focused on your exercises, an acupuncturist, like doing all those other rehab strategies, then when you go run and your body actually feels good and you start small, we don't just immediately go back and run 5 miles after being injured. We go out and do a half mile run or a mile run. and your body feels good, now that's telling your body, like, okay, I can do this. The rehab that I was doing actually paid off versus again, like going out and like body's still not working. And
Mhm.
now we're just mad. And now we're even setting ourselves up for more risk for injury because then things are tighter, we're angry, we're mad at ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I had chronic back pain for I slipped a disc and, man, 3 years probably? And, I was working with different people. One person, he was like, "How do you like, show me where how you feel pain." And it was like, flexion, getting out of bed, things like that. It's my L4 that I effed up. And he was like, "Okay, cool. Don't do that ever. Never do that movement." So if there's you see it all the time where you're like testing to see if it hurts still. If it's been 24 hours, it's gonna be there still. So just like no, this is kind of more like if you are in the injured camp and every time you test it, it's pissing the body off. So just, keep that in mind and kind of why we're on that subject. Well, I think we did an episode on this, so we can be brief here. But if you are injured, you need to keep one thing in mind. Your body will not recover if it is in a fighting stage. If it is stuck in fight or flight, it will not recover. You can't fall asleep if you're scared to death, right? Or like you're running from something. Like try it. You ever be like, like in a situation where when you were a kid and it was just so hard to fall asleep because you were so scared of something in your closet or whatever, right? That's a
Yeah,
good
you wake up
example
from
of
a
it.
nightmare.
Right. And then you can't fall back asleep. You are like chronically in that state. Depending on who you are, you're chronically in that state if you have an injury, especially if you like have an identity thing going on, you won't let it go. Keep that in mind too. You need to take some deep breaths, go see Kaylee or someone else, and
Because if
get
you
out
didn't
of that
know,
state.
acupuncture brings you out of fight or flight and brings you into that rest and digest. We want you more in that parasympathetic nervous system. Massage, breath work, going for a walk outside, like there's a lot of different ways to get out of that
Hmm.
fight or flight, but you need to find some way to do that. Making sure you're eating enough.
That's the other big one. That's the other big one. Don't be oh, I was running 30 miles a week and then I got injured, so now I don't need to eat as much anymore.
Yeah, we get that
No.
story
No, no, no,
all
no,
the
no.
time of people who aren't running and again, I'm not saying I'm like I would also put myself in this bank
Yeah, totally.
because
Yeah, it's hard.
your appetite is also just a lot typically more increased when you're running a lot, moving a lot, obviously, because you're burning more and need more calories. And then you go to not, and all of a sudden, your supplement game drops off, your hydration game drops off, your eating habits drop off. And that is just very much not the time to have those habits drop off. And I talk to my athletes all the time like, you need to continue hydrating, getting in your electrolytes, eating enough because your tissues literally need that in order to heal. It's just as important when you're running as when you're not running and if you're injured to get in that nutrition and fluids. Your body is made up of so much water and nutrients and minerals, and we need all of that in order to survive. And another, like, what I tell people, like, people who aren't running are still eating. They are still eating 3 meals a day. Just because we are not running does not mean now all of a sudden we don't deserve food or that we don't need food or that we don't want food. You have to eat. Your car cannot run on empty. Your car needs gas just like our bodies need food to run.
Yeah, and sometimes when you have a car problem, you need to bring it into a shop and
Yeah.
have someone qualified to help you.
Yeah, we need maintenance.
So,
Back to I liked what you were saying about like the story too about like with your ankle and stuff. Like I'm thinking about if you're having soreness or an injury, if you're having pain somewhere, think about what happened, like you were saying before that injury happened. Were you in like a super stressed out state for the last couple months? Like, are you going through a divorce? Do you have kid stuff going on? Do you have work stress? Or, and typically that I would say I see is more of like the injury side of some, like, it's the buildup of stuff. Like you're saying, it's typically we're not just like stepping off a curb wrong and all of a sudden something breaks. Typically, it's a chain of events that have led to that.
6 weeks out,
Yeah, it's
4 to 6
not
weeks out.
typically it's not just like bam, all of a sudden I have an issue. So you need to listen to those signs And then on the other side, more of like a soreness thing, typically, like if I get really sore, it will be because I didn't fuel properly before, during, and after whatever my activity is. So I'll know if I went to one of Jacob's strength classes and it took me, unfortunately, sometimes a couple hours to eat something after. Like that, I've done that. I'm human. And I will get so much more sore after. But then I know that, okay, this isn't an injury. It's because I wasn't eating properly or I didn't sleep the night before. So now my body just has a lot harder time to recover. So I just encourage, like, look at more than just like that instant of that. All of a sudden, like this run, I started hurting. It's about so much more than that. And that's why when you see like one of us or a different provider, typically you'll be getting questions like around the instant, not just what run were you doing? It's like what else was going on in your life at the time before that actually happened. And now it's continuing to go on while you're not actually healing. Yeah. What's your we get to do this moment of the week?
Oh, I was just gonna say one more thing.
Sorry.
We can table that. Go to the blog if you want advice on
You can go.
how to find. It's
Sorry.
no, it's not super important. It's 156. We don't need to do we get to do this moments in an episode like this, I don't think, unless you want to.
Okay.
I'll cut this part out. But we can if you want, though. Do you want to?
You don't have to.
We can. We just only have 4 minutes. And then if you are looking for someone that will help you, I also threw in 4 things that I like to consider when I'm finding someone. And I'm going to rattle them off quick. They have personal experience as an endurance athlete. They have education/certifications on what they are doing. They have reviews to back their work up, and they are not afraid to admit if they do not know something and refer out to another practitioner. Number 4 is key. What's your we get to do this moment for this week?
Back to just, I liked the comparison of us being a pit crew.
Yeah.
I feel like we just are a very integrative team, and it's just very cool being able to help people with you and having different perspectives. And it's very fun that we both get to help people, a lot of the same people with both perspectives. It's just a cool
I agree.
message to receive. So
I agree. I love Wednesdays. I love our podcast days. That's my week to do this moment. Got to go swimming this morning, work on the pod. Got to go and grocery shop at 8 a.m. and get coffee. It was awesome. Love Wednesdays. They're my off days.
Yeah.
So it's great from the gym. If you liked this episode, do us a favor, share with a friend, leave a rating and review. We love that you're here. We're happy to be here. And if you have any questions or need any more specific advice, don't be afraid to reach out. We're always open. You can hit us up at wegettodothis@gmail.com with the number 2, not the letter 2. That's a wrap on another episode.
you can also find us on Instagram at We Get to Do This, where we post some reels for y'all. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you all, and we'll talk soon.
Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We Get to Do This.